Hi guys, how are we doing? So, I'm going to talk about one of the biggest issues I'm seeing at the moment with coaches, with objections that I'm getting from clients, is that every single coach is looking like the same person. They're the same stuff, same content, same hooks, same almost like copy and paste content ideas, offers, ads, everything. And it really jumped out to me. There's a real big difference in the industry between like a system and principles behind the system. So when I say a system, it's just a repeatable process. And you're seeing a lot of ads like, I will install this business system in your coaching business and it's going to get you this many clients, whatever the promise of the day is. And what that does is it gives the coach listening to it a lot of hope. They're like, if I do these things in this playbook, in this manner, I will achieve success. And quite oftentimes, it's just going to be a set of post these styles of content with these hooks, with this CTA, with this bio, and you're going to get success. And in the early days, that worked. You used to see, I coach busy professionals under 30, I coach busy mums, I whatever, right? Whatever the bio handle was, click below, and that worked because there wasn't really a lot of competition. But now there's more and more coaches, more and more people working with mentors. It's not quite the same. Every coach looks the same. And in order for that to work, they're just getting everyone to do the same thing. It also takes away the personality of the coach. It says, do these things, but almost like, don't be you. And it's creating a lot of coaches seeing that, being like, fuck, I don't want to be that. Firstly, it feels like it's not me. It feels very icky in a way. And you'll see it a lot of times where they're kind of promoting viral content, which might not align with the coach. Right? You're a bodybuilding coach, you're like, go and do an Aldi protein haul or look at these high protein recipes. And you're like, does this really align with my message and who I am and my values? But it's in the playbook, so I've got to do it, right? And that's what I mean by a system. I'm not a huge fan. I'm not a huge fan. And I think people are starting to feel they're not really there. They kind of feel out of touch with their business. They probably don't enjoy making content. It's a pretty standard story that I'm seeing. Now, I can see why they work because they're repeatable processes. It's easy for mentors to go and implement. Go and do this thing and you'll achieve some level of success. And it's also easy to cut and paste. So think about how most mentor models work. People come into the business, they're given a success coach and they're told to do these things, follow this playbook, off you go. They're not really given a lot of one-to-one support. And if it didn't work, you didn't work hard enough or didn't send enough cold DMs. If it did work, fantastic, we're great. Repeat cycle, make money, stack money, sleep on a bed of it. Whereas the way I like to think about things is more in terms of principles. And a good example of this would be looking at training programs before we kind of go any further. So think about a training program. You could get Arnold's training program, CBum's training program. You could copy that exactly. You could do it, and some people get success with it. Some people wouldn't. Some people might die from a volume hole. Some people might go, it's easy, right? Because they're not doing it properly. It doesn't mean that the program was great. It just means that that's what someone else did and had success with it. I much prefer the principles. So in that example, okay, what are the principles behind growing muscle? It's mechanical tension, close proximity to failure, sufficient training volume, calorie, sleep, stress. It's the principles that we can layer up and create a bespoke training plan for an individual. And with that bespoke training plan, we know everything's been aligned and it's not what anyone else is doing. It works on the strengths and weaknesses of that person. And you're not relying on this like plug and play system. You're relying on the principles to guide us where we need to go. And then you adjust on that based upon individual response. And it's exactly the same in a business. We can't just sit there and say, do these things and have success, because again, it's going to work for some people, might not work for others, might not match their personality type. They might hate the process. It might not play to their strengths, might actually play to their weaknesses. You just don't know. So what we need to do is take the principles of these things, the psychological underpinnings of why these systems work in the first place, and then take the principle of that and apply it into a business. And that way it's going to do a couple things. One, it means that you're not the same as everyone else, right? You can actually have a business that matches you. Doesn't feel icky. It feels like honest and raw and something that you're actually proud of. It also stops you really just being the same as everyone else, taking your personality away from it. And one thing I'll kind of remind everyone, every single coach, and this is a mistake I've made before, is almost being too sterile, taking yourself out of the business, being too, I guess, let's call it professional, or calling it, like again, sterile would be the word I would use, where you're not actually being yourself. You're being what you think you should be, and not actually having any personality. The biggest thing in your business, the biggest USP, the biggest unique selling point is you. So you need to leverage that as much as possible. Your stories, your background, your personality, you, everything about it, like whether it's your physique, your education, your learning structure, your family, you're not the same as everyone else. So don't act like it. And this is where the principles are so important. So when we look at certain things, like we look at a content funnel, we need certain things we're trying to achieve. We want people to be able to see your content, like I've spoken about in previous videos. So we need to showcase and share your opinions, your beliefs, your things that you find funny, amusing, that you care about, that you hate, the things that you're for, that you're against. But again, remember, it's you. It's the stuff that you stand for. It's not these plug and play things. And yes, we have some certain hooks that work, but it's all based upon what you believe. Then there's the middle of the funnel content, like the connection content. Again, your journey, not some plug and play stuff, right? The same for authority. No one gives a shit about this high protein recipe that a million other people have done, or some Aldi protein haul a million other people have done. They want to know about what specifically do you do for your clients. Again, understanding a niche, specifically going towards them. It's about you showing your authority within your niche, right? Understanding the pain points of your niche as you go further down that funnel, the social proof that you've done. Again, none of this is cookie cutter. It's all based on you as a unique individual and your business, but we're still taking those universal principles and they apply to every single business. And one thing I've done on the coaching academy, one thing I've done within my one-to-one calls is I look at other coaches, other content creators and say, this is an example of top of funnel, middle funnel, bottom of funnel content. This is the way they've done it, right? We're taking that principle and we're applying it to them. Now, every single person's reach content, their engagement style content will look different, but they will have the same underpinnings. Everyone's connection content will look a little bit different. Everyone's authority-based content will look a little bit different. We're not copy and pasting, but it plays to the strengths of the individuals. And that's something I would really, really focus on. So like if your mentor is giving everyone, okay, follow this content structure, follow this onboarding schedule, say these things. This is your sales script. That's 100 people doing exactly the same thing as you. You no longer have a niche. But if you understand the principles behind these processes, you do. And that's the real point I'm making here. And the other factor that's probably not spoken about as much is it goes back to the old age saying, teach a man to fish and he'll feed himself for life, give a man a fish he'll eat for a day. Wrong way around, but you get the point. If you consistently spoon feed these guys as a mentor, right? Or if you're the mentee being spoon fed, you're always reliant on that mentor. You're always reliant on them being there to give you that. Well, what's the next steps? What's the next steps? What's the next steps? Whereas if you've got someone that teaches the principles, as in teaches you how to fish, eventually you'll get to a point where you no longer need that person. And as a mentor, I'm doing myself out of business. I'm teaching these guys the long-term principles. It's exactly the same as a coach of teaching you guys, okay, this is how you get a good relationship with food, how you track your calories, how you train, how you sleep. And then eventually they won't need you. But if you're consistently saying, right, wait this week for your workout plan, follow this thing, this is your meal plan, and they have none of those underlying skills below it, they're always going to need you, which is great from a business reliability perspective, but not so much for the mentee or the client in this case, being able to actually know what they're doing. So it's kind of like this pyramid scheme where they always need that thing, when in fact, if you learn the principles behind it, you're probably not going to need them as much. So if you're a coach, you think, okay, if I'm looking at these mentors, am I being taught to copy what's being done? Or am I being taught the actual principles behind it? Am I gaining an understanding of the behaviors and psychology behind those things? or just being shown a way to action that with a move, a playbook, a content piece, whatever it is. Okay, that's the main thing. So when I work with people, I want them to know how to do it. And I don't want them to ever lose their voice, their personality, and what makes them them. And it's exactly always why we're going to focus on the principles rather than this playbook thing. So I'd encourage you guys who are watching this, listening to this, to really think about that deep understanding of why these things occur in the first place. And any coach who is evidence-based, cares about what they're doing, is probably doing exactly the same with their business, in the sense of, do I know nutrition? Do I know training? Do I know these things? Or am I just kind of creating a plan and giving it to people? Am I educating my clients? Don't accept less for yourself. And certainly, and this is the final point I'll leave with, and I know I mentioned this already, but do not lose yourself following a plan. It's one of my concerns with my mentees, and one of the first things I say to them is, we never want you to lose your voice. Your voice is the most important thing. It's the biggest USP, like I said. So whatever we do, we're going to talk about business in a relatively process-driven way. We're going to talk about sales funnels. We're going to talk about content funnels. We're going to talk about actionable steps. We're going to talk about selling. But at the end of the day, what we're doing is helping people. And if we haven't got a structure and a process for that, we're going to be in a bad spot and not going to have a business that we want. And that's all going to come down to the principles behind what we do. And the final closing thought is, if I could give you any advice, right, and this is for any level of business, try and help as many people of your demographic as you can, and try and have a smaller gap between what you believe, who you are, what you do, and getting that across on social media and to your clients. Most of the time we kind of go through this filter, these systems that these mentors put in place, and it ends up diluting us so far down on who we are, we actually don't become who we are anymore. And we don't like making content, and we don't like doing all the other stuff. Whereas if you just have a zero filter between who you are and what you put out, you'll be in a better spot. And if you can then run that via these principles, just to hone those small bits, you're going to be off to the races. And just honing what you're doing is so important. Okay, so if you can do that, you're going to be absolutely flying. So guys, hope you find this one helpful, interesting, and hopefully give you a really good reason to never let your personality diminish, and to always focus on the principles behind the success in your business, and you're going to be off doing well. So if you guys want to know any more about how to grow your business, we're running the Strong Coaching Academy. This is currently going through another iteration. I'm determined to get this to the point where it is the final product. Always want to try and improve and get it better. So in the process of doing just that, I have space available for one-to-one mentoring. If you want to drop me a message, get on board, part of the team to grow your business in the right way. And if you want to check out the sponsors from a supplement, peptide, from Bloodwork, click the show notes below and you can see the amazing sponsors that I work with and get some money off as well. So I hope you enjoyed this episode, guys. I'll either catch you in your ears in the next one or visually on YouTube. And as always, appreciate your time and just paying attention to me talk rubbish. Thanks a lot.